New Executive Director of the Arts Council of the Brazos Valley, Sylvia McMullen, joining us. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
Let's talk first about the facility because you've moved into a new facility.
Yes.
And a little bit different because I can remember the Arts Council was basically just an office. Then you got a building, but now you've got a building that y'all have kind of been able to craft and make it your own. So tell us how it's different.
Well, obviously that building was the original fire station and then was occupied by the 4-H Foundation for several years. And it's really divided into kind of two parts. One part is the gallery exhibition area, and it's got several different areas that we can use for exhibits. And then the other part of the building really gives us an opportunity to do more classes, to, have groups in there. We've got meeting rooms, and so it's really, a step up for us to be able to expand and have a facility that has multi-purpose uses.
Well, the Arts Council has always had a challenge because it's kind of like herding cats. A whole lot of people have a whole lot of different interests, but they're
Sure.
very strong and passionate about their interests, and you need to serve all of those interests. So this gives, I guess, really some of the smaller organizations a real place where they can meet.
Absolutely. In fact, we have, I didn't mention that we have 3 artists that have studios there. And so they literally are working studios. And so they've got a window so they, we can bring classes by. They can see. One works in pastels, one works in acrylics, and all kinds of multimedia, and then another is watercolor. So, art encompasses so much, from music to art to even jewelry,
Sure.
anything. And part of it is about the quality of life. And that's one of the things that I've always loved about Bryan College Station is the quality of life. And I think that's what the Arts Council has the opportunity to do is improve the quality of life.
Now, how did you choose these 3 artists, and will that change over time?
It will change over time, but they actually applied, and they weren't chosen as such, but they applied for those rooms that we have available, and there are 3 of them. They're not very big.
Well, but it's a kind of a neat deal. The Bryan College Station, I mean, it's not a really big city when it comes to arts, and you can see that artists would gravitate to larger areas, but the fact that we've had an artist in residency program over in Navasota for a while really speaks well. And here you do. You actually have people who have a place now that they can work on their art.
Absolutely, and we have camps for our kids after school. There's a lot of things that are going on, and what the board has asked of me is to let's see where this can go. This is not just limited to anything. Chris Dyer did a fantastic job, and Chris and I've talked several times. But let's see what the future brings. This is one thing that I've already talked to city leaders. We're going to have a visitor center in our opening, and what better place to have it on Highway 6. So it's a really neat opportunity, a neat time, and a lot of potential for us to grow.
Well, and you mentioned that part, and yes, that's true. Chris, we know what the circumstances were as Chris came here. He did change that. He had a vision. But tell me a little bit now, as new executive director, how that your board has basically given you a charge, but you certainly might have some ideas as to how art is presented in Bryan College Station and the Brazos Valley differently.
Well, I think that one of the things that I think about is, I've talked at length with both the Chamber and Experienced Bryan College Station and with both cities because I think the opportunity is that, Texas A&M brings people here. No matter what it's for, whether it's athletics or for research and development or for classes, whatever it's for. If we can get them to stay one more night, it contributes to our economy. And so being able to have a reason for them to stay. So I think that that's really kind of where I'm looking at is what the vision is for the future. I'm asking a lot of questions of a lot of folks. What do they see? And so this is really trying to create a collaborative vision, and the 61 affiliates that we have, they're all part of this. And how do we grow this so that when somebody comes to Bryan College Station for a football game, and even if they live in Houston, if they would stay one more night, that adds to our economy.
Sylvia McMullen joining us, the new executive director of the Arts Council. Has the board basically given you a timeline as to when they would like to see maybe some of your thoughts be actually put into action?
No, they really haven't. We're looking for a grand opening, probably, couple of days event in January. We need to get the building completely ready. It's got an exhibit now. It's open to the public. We'd love to have folks come out and see it, but it's not. We don't have everything on the wall yet, so it's not totally complete, but what we want to do is have an event that establishes where we want to take it. And so we need a couple of months of gathering some information.
There was a time when there was a store in the previous location. Are you going to have things that will be for sale by local artists anywhere in the facility?
The local artists that are in the facility, their works are for sale. Whether or not we add like other things, it really hadn't been decided. It's really kind of a blank slate, which I find to be really exciting because that gives us the opportunity to ask, okay, what would you like to see? What would bring you here? What would keep you here one more night?
One of the things I've really enjoyed about my interviews is the people who are brought in from outside Bryan College Station. I'm sorry, we're Bryan College Station centric, but there are within the surrounding counties also these organizations. So tell me what kind of outreach you're doing toward those organizations to make them more included.
Well, I think the opportunity we have is because we do sit in this place that's in between. And so looking at some of the exhibits that go to the bigger cities, do they have a traveling that they need a place where they could be for a period of time? Do they need an extra date? Also, had some input from some folks that have seen some things, choral groups that would be marvelous. And so if we could arrange it such that, they come to Houston, they come to Bryan College Station, they go to Austin, and eventually go to Dallas, then that's really the kind of way that you could actually expand what we're doing and bring more in.
Sure. It's a nonprofit, which means it needs money. That has to be
right.
part of the program as well and part of your charge. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're fortunate in that the building is paid for. It is, and that has been a big capital campaign that has gone on for several months, probably even longer than that. But now we're beginning to look at what the future is, and when we begin to define that, then we'll know more about what kind of funds we're looking for. I hope that we can establish an endowment that gives us that baseline foundation and move from there.
Sylvia McMullen, the new executive director at the Arts Council. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.